Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Gowri Kulkarni, and I head the medical operations at MediBuddy Docs app. 2020 has been quite a difficult year for all of us. For a lot of us, it's been challenging. It has brought in a lot of new perspectives in terms of how we live, what we do for ourselves, and for our near and dear ones. In this post COVID era, we are hoping that there's a new light with the new vaccines coming in. We already know that there is vaccines being provided in many of the countries, especially it started in US and the UK, and we hope that the vaccine comes in India also very soon. In the midst of all of this, we have the festive season coming up. We have the Christmas and the New Year's coming in, and a lot of us are looking forward to celebrating our wins of just getting through this year and hoping that the next year brings in more hope and more confidence in the way we all live. But having said that, it's very, very important for all of us to know what we can do to ensure that we have a safe new year and a safe festive season going here ahead. So I'm here today to talk about a few of these things that I think all of us should follow and take care in the process of even with the celebrations that we would want to do. Right. So please do bring up any questions specifically if you have. In the meanwhile, I'll definitely talk a few things that we must do in this festive season. So let's go ahead and start on. So I'm sure that all of us, have seen 2020 has been, it has been a great teacher in many ways. A lot of us have suffered from physical ailments, people who have suffered and recovered from COVID. Many people who unfortunately could not do so and left us to a better world, I believe. A lot of us have had social issues. We have gone through social isolations. We have not been able to meet up with our near and dear ones. A lot of us have also had mental health issues that we have seen in this past year, the year gone by, where people have struggled with anxiety, depression, difficulty in being able to cope up with the new scenarios, trying to figure out a work-life balance. So a lot of these things have happened. Many of us have also suffered in terms of financial securities, people who have had a lot of jugglery to do because of, say, a loss of livelihood options or loss of jobs. And hence, it has all brought in for all of us to want to, get to the next year faster. Everybody wants to jump to 2021 soon. But the fact, unfortunately, remains that COVID is still here, right? We have to understand that the disease is still around. The COVID-19 virus is very much around. Though vaccines are developed, vaccines are being procured, and hopefully in phased manner, all of us at some point in time would have access to vaccination. Unfortunately, it is still time. We still need to wait and be patient in getting the vaccinations. And even if we do get that, I think it's important that we still take care of ourselves and follow precautionary measures nonetheless, right? So from a festive season perspective, I'm sure that a lot of us would want to meet up with our friends and get together. People like to go partying, people like to step out. Unfortunately, we also know that most state governments have banned this. And I believe that that's the right thing to do. It's best to avoid crowding, best to avoid um, going out and being in closed areas with too many people, because this is the place where there is a high likelihood of spread of illness, right? Even if, it's unfortunately the COVID-19 infection is such that, you do not need a long-term exposure to somebody who's suffering from it. Even say a 5 to 10 minute exposure is enough, and you may have the risk of contracting the COVID-19 infection. So it's important for us to try and mitigate that risk. And how we do that is by just avoiding, getting into a crowded place or avoiding to get into a lot of people conglomerating together, in any kind of celebration. Now, does that mean that we should not celebrate? I don't believe so. I think we should all celebrate, but the new normal, as we say, is the virtual world, right? Use of technology, use of social media, use of platforms which connect us together in the spirit of the festive season, and help us to be social, right? So it doesn't matter, where you are, but as long as you can connect virtually and then still celebrate sitting at your home, I think that would be the best solution for all of us, considering the situation here, right? So do try that, reach out to your friends and family, block a time so that you're all available online, and you could still be together even with the distances keeping you apart. So first and foremost, it's best that we avoid crowding, best that we avoid going out or being in place where there are a lot of people, because the risk of getting the infection is definitely very, very high if such a situation happens, right? So please take care of that, right? But in the same time, during with this in mind, also understand that yes, celebrating is important. So pick up virtual medium where you can catch up with your friends and family to do that, right? Now, of course, I also know that a lot of people would want to, call a couple of family members to home, or just celebrate within a very small, a unit of say five to seven people. Now, if that is happening in your house, ensure that you're taking care and of the precautionary measures, right? Ensure that you have the physical distancing. Do not come too close together. Ensure that you're washing your hands and getting the guests to do the same repeatedly, and of course wear a mask, right? So it's very, very important that you follow these no matter what, right? No matter what, in this festive season, so that it helps you in the long run, to protect you from, say, the risk of getting the illness, right? Now, I think a lot of us, this is also the time, year end is also the time that we make a lot of resolutions. I hope most of you have. And I think the biggest resolution that all of us make is considering our health. And the last 2020 has actually taught us that health is so important, right? We do not give it as much importance. But I think this year has taught us that if we are in sound health, everything else follows. We will be able to take care of ourselves. We will be able to somehow manage livelihood. We will be able to take care of our family. But if we don't take care of our health, right, then there is nothing to look forward to. So I think one of the things that which go beyond the festive season is to think of the resolutions that you want to make. And one of the biggest resolution that I think everyone should make is to ensure that they devote and commit to their health, right? Now, does that mean I'm saying that go start hit go and hit the gym, or do something drastic? No. Commit to yourself, commit to the cause of good health, which means that take baby steps to ensure that you are doing the right thing when it comes to exercise, when it comes to your diet, when it comes to de-stressing, when it comes to your sleep patterns, when it comes to your amount of water that you drink in a day. These are basic things that I think we should now inculcate. These lifestyle changes have to be inculcated no matter what. See, we are happy that COVID-19, we will get vaccinated at some point in time, and it will be a thing of the past, right? But 2020 has also taught us that there are these superbugs which can be around, right? If COVID-19 is not there, there might be something new which will come up. We do not know what is in store for us in the future. But if there is something as deadly or as dangerous as this, then it is important that we do what is in our capacity to ensure that we take care of our health, right? And this is what it is. What is in our control is our health. And it's important that we put in that effort on a daily basis, right? So make it your New Year resolution, make it something that you would want to keep at every single day, right? Be committed to your health, be committed to good health, from a physical perspective. Now, 2020 has also brought in a lot of mental health issues. We have seen a lot of people who have come up with issues of low moods and depression, people who have come in with issues of anxiety, people who come up with things like feeling guilty or are very distracted at work, procrastinating, not able to manage their work life, and hence feeling very stressed, not able to know how to go about parenting or taking care of other people in the family, at the same time taking care of work. So there was this all these kind of themes which have come out during this during the COVID era now in the 2020. And we've seen that few people are able to kind of cope, but few people are not able to cope. And I think there is something that is very important for us to make a resolution and look at 2020 in this way, that if we think that we are having any issues, or we feel that there is something which is uncomfortable inside, right? You're feeling something which is doesn't sit well with you, or is making you feel having feel uncomfortable, or have negative thoughts. It's important that you bring it up, bring it in the foray and talk about it openly. I think a lot of people during the last year have been able to talk so much about their mental health and what they are going through, and that has also opened it up to being, being something as normal as, say, getting a fever, right? It's great that we have been able to reduce the stigma around mental health, but this has to be a commitment that we keep to ourselves, right? So it's important that we look at 2020 as a teacher for us, in terms of, decreasing our stigma towards mental health issues and being more open to talking about it. Be it, say, helping a colleague or a friend or a family member to just be there to listen to, or it could be that we ourselves, if we feel so, take the help of, say, a counselor, or a psychotherapist who would help us to untangle our emotions and our thoughts, right? So it's very important that this is something that we look at in the coming year, right? And it will only make us that much more stronger, and be able to take on the future, whatever that is coming to us, right? So very, very important that we take care of not just our physical health, but our mental health as well, right? Now, it's also important that we look at it from a social angle, right? We still are away from a lot of people we love, and it's important, and it has also made us understand that how important it is for us to make those bridges and keep those bridges alive, right? Those bridges which we connect with, say, our friends, a family, loved one, colleagues, children, parents, so many people around us. And those bridges have to be built, and maybe built so more virtually in the coming era, so that we are able to get connected well and stay connected as a unit, right? So I think it's very, very important that we do that. So these are some of the things that we can do from what we can learn from the year that went by, right? I think a lot of people, though I'm a doctor, I think this year has also taught me personally to be more mindful about finances. And a lot of us, we don't do that, and we take each day as it comes. But it's important that we also look at that, of our financial health, our spiritual health. I think these are things that we have to keep an eye on, and be committed to in the coming 2021, hoping that this is a wonderful year for all of us. We have fought a long battle, and it is only going to be victorious for us. But there are still a few months before we can call ourselves the winners, right? So hence, it's important that we take care. Now, going back to what are the precautions that we can take, I know all of us who are in the mood. There are a lot of offices which are already shutting down this weekend, and people are already in the mood to travel, or people are in the mood to go back to their hometowns, or people are wanting to organize parties. So for those who are wanting to travel, right, I think it's very important for us to go back to our basics and understand that they need to ensure that their travel is kind of scheduled, right? You know where you're going, what kind of place you're going, what is going to be your stay like, how are you taking care of ensuring that you always have good hand sanitization maintained, you're wearing masks, who are going to be around you, what is the amount of crowding that is going to happen, right? So these are good questions for you to ask yourself, and find it out from where you're going to stay, right? So ensure that you're taking care of these things. So carry enough masks, carry enough hand sanitizers, ensure that you are keeping enough distance between people that who are going to be around you if you are wanting to travel. My 2 cents, I usually feel that we should stick to being at home and and celebrating New Year's with only the closest near and dear ones, with having virtual connect with everybody, because that is for sure going to mitigate our risk the maximum. If you have older people or very young children at home, yes, I would rather say, avoid travel, stay at home, and enjoy the New Year's at home rather than traveling out. Why is it so? Because one, older people, as we know, might be also suffering from other chronic illnesses, which makes them more prone to picking up an infection of any kind, for that matter, when they are out, right? Children, definitely, though they might be resilient to COVID-19 from that perspective, and they may recover well as well. But because they can be spreaders, they can definitely be difficult to manage in terms of telling them to always keep a mask on, or ensuring that they are already well in terms of their hand sanitization. So any which way, if you're going out, ensure that you're taking care of these few things before you step out. So organize or schedule your travel well, and understand what, who, and where you're going, who you're going to be with, what is the kind of population around you, so that you are safe if you're traveling. Now, if you are definitely going to stay home, I think that's a wonderful thing. Ensure that you make the most of your time by spending it with your loved ones. Have it could be just binge watching on something on the television, or reading something that you have not done in a long time, or just spending enough time and chatting with your loved ones, be it your spouse or children or parents or whoever is there at home, because that definitely is time well spent. So you could do that as well. I also know a lot of people who might be traveling back home, right? People who are in the city or who are staying alone but would want to go back to their parents, or maybe their families in their natives. And if you're doing that, ensure and create your travel plan, right? So ensure how you're traveling. Either you're flying, or you're taking a train travel, or you're just taking your own vehicle, whichever way, whichever way that you're going to travel. But ensure that it is taken care of. You're booked in advance, so that you don't have to do last minute scampering for travel. The other thing is, if you have older people back home, then ensure that at least for the first 7 days that you are there, maintain the social distance, wear a mask, and sanitize your hands well, because you might inadvertently be carrying the infection in an asymptomatic state. But try to do maintain that kind of a quarantine measure at least for 7 days, so that you are able to you're just sure that you're not spreading it to at least older people who you might be visiting when that is so, right? Now, we all know that the vaccines are on the way. The Indian made vaccine is still not out in the market, but we do have the other two vaccines which have been released, and vaccinations are already in full way, both in the US and the Europe. Now, there's somebody who has messaged in with a question saying, is the vaccine is safe for children below the age of 10 and pregnant women? Currently, the vaccine is seemingly to be safe for everyone. But yes, I think with the Indian vaccine is still not out, so we do not have data about it. But the other two vaccines seem to be okay to be given. So until the vaccine comes to us, I think we still need to wait for more and more data to come out. Though the data is out that it is safe, but we are not yet sure. Um, Having said that, one is the COVID-19 vaccine that we talk about, and I just want to bring into the focus of discussion that there are other vaccines, and I personally endorse the fact that we should be vaccinating all children with all the preventable diseases that we have with the use of vaccines. Adults also need to take vaccines. I think this is a much less spoken about topic. We usually think that vaccinations or immunization schedule is only for children, right? But that's not the case. Adults can also get themselves vaccinated for certain illnesses, right? The regular influenza or the flu shot that we take on an annual basis is recommended for everybody once a year. There are certain deadly infections of the lung, such as the pneumococcal infection. The pneumococcal vaccine is definitely recommended for everybody about the age of 55, especially if you are having chronic diseases like heart problems or kidney problems, diabetes, high blood pressure. It is recommended that people take this pneumococcal vaccine also. Most people are advised to take vaccines such as a booster dose of MMR. There are vaccines such as hepatitis A and B, which can be taken. So these are all adult vaccines and they are very much available. So do talk to your physician, and if you think, if the physician thinks that it is required for you, do take it. These are do not neglect vaccinations, because they do help us. They protect us from serious illnesses, and help us to be more healthy. So I think it's a very good thing for us to advocate vaccines and take them as well. Okay. Somebody asked a question: how to avoid contact with people in the upcoming year, even if there's no lockdown, to save us from coronavirus. And education institutes will also be open at the same time. I agree. I mean, that's a problem. But the way to avoid contact with people is most probably for us to stay away ourselves, right? It would be difficult for us to tell somebody else to, not do something. But how about all of us taking it in our stride and in our conscience that, I am going to take control, and I'm going to be responsible and ensure that I am away from others, right? I keep the social distance, I wear the mask, I follow good hand hygiene methods. So if I can do it and everybody says that, then I'm sure that there is no reason why we can't prevent the spread of this illness, right? So I think that is very important. I agree that educational institutes have just opened up, and a lot of young adults are catching up and they're meeting. They would want to go out for parties, but I would still suggest it is best to avoid it at this point in time, because we are still in the midst of a pandemic, and we are still not yet, we still do not have the vaccine readily available for us, for use for the whole population. So I think the way we avoid contact is by taking things in our own hand and doing it for ourselves. If everybody does it for their own self, then of course, there's no reason why we can't avoid that contact. Now, there is somebody who has said, what could be a precaution while doing exercises or running in a big ground? We pass through people's path. Yes, I agree. There are mixed ways of, mixed thought processes when it comes to using of mask when you're running. Yes, when you're running, it might not be easy for you to wear a mask, because it can feel difficult when you have a mask on and running. You may not be able to breathe well. In that case, again, follow the concept of physical distancing, which means ensure that you are more aware, and take the responsibility of keeping that distance between you and another person, right? Yes, there will always be a fact where you might inadvertently cross someone, but try as much as possible to ensure that you keep that physical distance away, when you're running or when you're with somebody. It is all right for you to say, maybe slow down a bit sometimes, just to keep that distance, or maybe be a little faster so that you can keep that distance from somebody else, right? So I think it's important that you do that. The other thing is also, ensure that you're always sanitizing your hand when you are running or jogging. In between, take breaks, because you inadvertently touch your face quite often, right? So you're sweaty or something else, and people tend to touch their face. So one is avoid touching the face, and one is to sanitize hands more frequently. You can still try a thin cloth mask if that works for you. A lot of times, the thinner masks are all right, and you can still protect yourself to some degree when you're exercising. So try that out and see how it works for you, right? The other thing is, with the situations remaining, will the situation remain the same next year? What precautions for children in the unlocking period? We are all hopeful, right? We are hopeful that once the vaccine is out, and most of us are vaccinated, things will change for the better. But until that time, I think we have to take care of our children as well. Ensure that you teach them what is COVID. You teach them, why they need to wear a mask, why they need to follow good hand hygiene methods, why they need to follow a certain decorum, like social, physically distancing themselves, or keeping away, or the distance that they need to keep with between, say, two children. So these are the things that we need to teach our children, and children are very, very receptive. They do understand, right? It may not be possible for them to follow all the time, but they are receptive. So keep telling them that, right? And let us be hopeful that the vaccine is out so that we all are a little more at peace, with the, especially when it comes to the health of our near and dear ones, right? So, somebody said that they're already affected by corona. Is it necessary to take precautions as before? Yes, it is. Even if you are a COVID survivor, and that's great, you have been able, you suffered from the illness and you survived, and you are feeling well, and we congratulate you for that. But the fact remains that there are still not enough data which talks about reinfection. Even if you have an antibody titer in your that you have developed, we do not know how much that is. So it's always a good idea to be more cautious, right? So it doesn't affect us if we are still continuing to wear a mask and still following hand hygiene, still keeping the physical distancing. It is only going to help, right? So my suggestion to you is follow the precautionary measures, even though you have already suffered from the COVID infection. All right. Now, there is a question: is it wise to conduct a New Year party with COVID-19 protocols, or forget about the New Year even this year? I wish I could, I could be on your side and say yes, but no. I think it is wise to, not have a face-to-face New Year event, right? You can still have virtual celebrations. We can still put on the same music with 10 stations on a virtual medium and still party, having the physical distance. It is best to avoid, because we do not know. We do not know the kind of spread that can happen if there is going to be a crowding or close conglomeration of a lot of people. So if you ask me, I would say avoid. It's best to avoid, right? Um, mm, uh, Somebody asked about the vaccine. Yes, see, this, the pandemic is going to go away once, for two reasons, right? Once the vaccine comes and we are all vaccinated enough and develop immunity. Two, if we take care of the precautionary measures, that itself will lead to the pandemic going away. So follow these things, right? Follow your regular methods so that you're taking care of yourself. I think that is how we should go ahead in the future as well, right? um, so oh, you guys are asking so many questions. So give me a moment to read through this. Is it possible that COVID-19 can damage your brain cells? See, there are long consequences of COVID-19 which have come up, which have shown if issues which can be pertaining to nerve health, which can be pertaining to the heart muscles or the lung tissue as well. However, we still do not know the degree to which such damage can happen. So I would say for now we do not have enough reasons to believe that something like damage to your brain cells can happen. But there have been studies where nerve health issue has happened. There have been studies where heart muscles have been affected, along with the permanent damage to the lung tissue as well. But let us wait for some more clinical journaling before we can have more answers to this question, right? There is somebody who asked a question: using mask can protect from spreading of virus from a positive case to a normal person, because the virus is visible in the microscope. Then can mask protect us? Yes, masks do protect us. They protect us from keeping away from the virus. So please keep using the mask. Please keep using the mask. There is no two ways about it. If you are going out anywhere, if you're meeting people, it's always best to wear a mask, right? So please do that. Please wear a mask. Ensure that you are following good hand hygiene, and ensure that you are keeping the physical distance. I think that's very, very important. um, so somebody asked about a question from Hyderabad, that now in Hyderabad situations that people have forgotten the effect or situation of virus and living without any precautionary measure or not maintaining social distancing. Is the rate of effect or spread of virus decreased? Not really, but it is possible that a lot of people might have been asymptomatically, affected by the virus, and hence the reason that there could be some amount of herd immunity which might have developed in clusters in certain areas. Having said that, I think people are living dangerously in that sense if they are not using masks or if they are not maintaining social distancing. So please do that. It will only help you in the long term until we have the virus, right? How to take precautions against the pandemic for New Year celebrations in hostels? I know a lot of young people would want to party and be in the hostel. If you're in a hostel, the first thing you need to know is ensure that all the people in the resident who are residents or who are there are asymptomatic. They don't have any cough, cold, fever. Somebody has some symptoms, they should immediately contact a doctor and isolate themselves. That's number one. Number two, ensure that you are doing regular temperature checks so that we know if somebody has picked up a fever. Ensure that there is not too much of movement in and out. Rather, see, if you are going to stay inside the hostel itself, you know that there's nobody who's going to go out and bring the infection in because of their inadvertent activity outside, right? So if you are sure that everybody is negative in the hostel and do not suffer from COVID-19, well, in on a small scale, you can definitely have a party, but ensure still that you use a mask and ensure still that there is some amount of social distancing that the physical distancing that you must maintain so that you protect yourself, even in the midst of a so-called small celebration that you would want to do in your hostel, right? So take care of these things before you even think of organizing some event, right? So somebody's asking about New Year means it's winter time. Is it good for picnic, New Year party, while government says use face mask and social distance? But in my view, it is not possible to maintain all of these in a party time. I agree with you. So I agree with you. Nobody wants to wear a mask when they are partying, and hence the reason I said it's best to avoid it, right? Does that mean that you will not party? Well, party virtually, use a medium where you can party virtually rather than exposing yourself to unwanted risk, is what I would say, right? So best is that you do not expose yourself to unwanted risk, but if you are, then you must wear a mask. I strongly recommend that. All right. So please do that, right? There's somebody who asked a question that in spite of following the necessary precautions like physical distancing, sanitation, and wearing a mask, if we happen to know that a person at our workplace with whom we are in contact whom we are in contact almost daily has turned positive, what are the chances of others getting infected with the virus? If you have been very good at wearing a mask, social distancing, and sanitizing your hand, then most probably your chance is quite less. However, if you are in close contact with the person who has turned positive, if you have been in close contact, maybe he or she is somebody who works with you very closely, then yes, it's best that you quarantine yourself and get yourself tested if you get symptoms. All right. But the chances otherwise are low if you are following all the precautionary measures, right? Is that okay? It's been months. Smell is working at 30% around after COVID. Well, it's a good idea for you to consult a doctor and figure out why this is happening. There could be any other reason also for you to have decrease in your smell sensation post COVID. It could be a chronic, some kind of inflammation in your nasal passages. So why don't you, consult a ENT specialist and let them examine you before, we can come to a conclusion as to why this should be happening. In most people, the sense of smell comes back completely. So I'm unsure of why this is happening. Best is to get yourself examined once. All right. There is a question which says, which is more effective, sanitizer or soap? My personal favorite is simple soap. Why? Because when you use a soap, you also ensure that you follow the 20-second method, right? So you apply the soap on all your surfaces of your hand, rub all the surfaces correctly, and then you wash it off, right? A lot of people who use sanitizer tend to not use it correctly. They would just apply it on the palms and not on the back of their hands, or not on the wrists. These things happen. So either which ways is fine, as long as you're ensuring that you're cleaning all areas of your hand, right from your tip of your fingers to the webs of your fingers to the palm, the backside, the wrist, every part of your hand. If it is thoroughly sanitized, it's all right to use either. I prefer a soap and basic soap and water. All right. Now, just going through the questions that you all have asked, just a moment. Um, there's somebody who again asked how to be safer during travel, and there's also a question about how do we celebrate our new year in this era, right? So we have spoken about it, but just to give you a quick recap, if you are if you've decided to travel, right, one is to try and see if you can avoid it. But if you have decided to travel, I'm sure you have made all the necessary arrangements. When I say arrangements, you know where you're going to stay, who's going to be around you, how many people are there, how is the sanitation there, what are they doing to ensure that they do frequent sanitation measures in the place that you're going to stay. How are you going to travel, what mode of travel are you going to take, how many people would be there during that travel, right? So these are the things that you have to be more you have to keep it in your mind before you make all the decision to travel. But at the bottom line, of course, ensure that you maintain physical distancing, you wear a mask, keep washing your hands so that you have enough hygiene measures followed. Most probably your travel should be safe, but if you can avoid travel and be at home, my suggestion is do that, right? About celebrating your New Year's, as I said, best is virtual celebrations. Avoid crowding, avoid going out, unnecessary risks that we take up if we would be doing that. Have smaller groups if you do want to do it, like not more than 5 to 7 people. But if you are still wanting to do it in a larger manner, most probably it will not be allowed because government is not allowing it, and I think it's best to follow instructions given by our government. So create virtual meetings with all your near and dear ones, your friends and family, and cheer for the new year over a video call. I think that's the best thing that we can do in the current scenario. All right. There is a question about people are moving here and there without masks. I agree with you. Somebody said that they visited Pondicherry and saw that not a single person was wearing a mask. I know it's scary. It's scary, right? We see the government taking all the necessary steps, giving enough awareness and education. We all keep talking about it, but when it comes to actually actioning on it, very few people do it. And yes, it can sometimes, it can be scary. It can be frustrating as well at times. But I think what I can say is at the end of the day, let us all do what we can do, right? So let us ensure that, maybe I can't ensure who's in front of me and if he or she is wearing a mask or not, but I can ensure that I will wear a mask and I maintain the social distance. So the physical distance between any two people who's around me, right? So I think let us take it on in our hand for and be responsible for ourselves, right? I think that's the only thing that we can do in the long run, right? um, and I think at the end of the day, yes, it's very difficult to change somebody else's behavior, but we can ensure that we do what is right. So follow that, I feel, and hopefully, we should be able to get through this very, very soon, right? um, uh, yeah. So there was somebody who asked a question. As I see that Corona got more respect in March till August, but not now, right? We go out and buy food. We can actually sanitize the surface, but what does the food which we are eating bought from outside? What are your views about it? See, from a COVID perspective, right? COVID doesn't spread from food. It's not a foodborne illness. So there is no harm in you eating food from outside. However, the fact remains, and it's always best to eat home cooked meals, in terms of building your own immunity, ensuring that you are keeping good health, taking care of yourselves in terms of your food intake is also important. So home cooked meals are always the best. However, if you're buying food from outside, there is no harm in doing that, and you can eat food from outside as well. Ensure that you sanitize the outside packaging, and then you can very well eat your food. And please be mindful of where you buy it from, and is it a place which is which is clean, and is it a place which has a good kitchen. Those are the things that you should be more worried about. But don't worry from a perspective of spread of the virus from food. That will not happen. Just sanitize the covering and the boxes that you get it in, and then you can have the food very well. All right. But definitely recommend going back to our roots and having home cooked basic meals. They definitely give you better energy. They will keep your immunity strong, will keep you away from unwanted tummy infections if that is to happen from outside food. So but I think I leave that choice to you at the end of the day, right? um, Somebody who asked, suppose a person who is making the food have asymptomatic corona, right? Well, the WHO says that a person who is asymptomatic tends to he or she may not be a very big spreader. Number one. Number two, I'm hoping that there are enough laws now in place, and there's a lot of scrutiny which happens, especially with the food establishments, where there are strict guidelines on how people who work there are taken care of, right? So they are having their logs where symptomatology is checked, temperature is checked, people are supposed to wear a mask all the time. So these things are in place. I believe in more, by government rules, these are supposed to be in place. Hence, my suggestion to you is, if you are, ordering in food, um, order it in from a place where you are more confident about, or have more faith about the kind of food they provide you, right? I think that is how I would look at it. As the best is to cook at home yourself. It's always the best option, right? So do that, right? Somebody asked that can they visit a very cold place. I hear that for many people that it is cold and corona is going to spread more in winters. um, See, well, if you want to visit some place, then I think none of us can stop you. But see, whenever you go out, there will be other people as well. Your risk of getting COVID is always high if you are going to be in place where there are a lot more other people, right? Because they are strangers, you don't know who they are, and they might always be inadvertent carriers, or they might be rather asymptomatic. They might be suffering from a symptomatic or a mild form of corona which they have not yet tested or diagnosed, right? So it is possible that that can happen. So hence the reason, the best precautionary measure is to not travel. If you're traveling, take care of precautions. You know who you are, who's around you, know where you're going to stay, what is the kind of social distancing, physical distancing that you're going to take up. Those things you have to ensure about, of course, in the background of wearing masks and hand sanitization and things like that, right? Now, but the fact remains that when it says corona is going to spread more in winters, it's not per se about corona, but winters are known to be the time when most people have flus, in general infections of the throat, upper respiratory tract infections, even lung infections, increase in asthmas and COPDs, increasing bronchitis. So these are the issues which are most commonly seen in the winter months, because that's how it is, right? These are the winter months when it is cold. People tend to suffer from these illnesses. Naturally, with the COVID added to it, number of people who are falling sick has also increased, right? So hence the reason that we tell people best is to avoid travel, or best is to keep warm, staying at home. All right. Um, um, Somebody has asked a question. Someone told me the other day that corona is going to be there for more 5 years. What's your view? Well, we have enough infections around us which have been there for us for centuries, right? Tuberculosis has been with us forever. It's still going to be there. So COVID is also one of those infections. Though we will have vaccinations available, there will be these infections which are there, right? So hence the reason that we cannot become lax just because we have a vaccine, right? Even if we are going to be vaccinated, it doesn't stop us from following the preventive measures or the precautionary measures that we have to follow. So you must still follow it. You, even if you are going to get vaccinated, you will have to use a mask. You will have to do the right things for yourself, to protect yourself and your family and loved ones against this illness, right? So there are a lot of other illnesses similarly which are still there. I think the only two illnesses which were completely eradicated after vaccines were, one was the smallpox, and now polio, more or less, right? Even there are still some sporadic, but more or less polio is gone. So these are the only two, but there are so many other illnesses for which vaccines are available. Infections are still there, right? Bugs are always going to come up, right? And it's an unfortunate scenario, but there are going to be worser viruses and worser bacteria which might even come up, right? So we have to be ensuring that we take care of ourselves. Okay. So so do you think corona will be there always like chikungunya? It's possible. It's possible that corona would be there. Understand that the COVID-19 or the coronavirus 19, right, is the SARS-CoV-2 virus, is a mutated form of a coronavirus which has been there. There are different types of coronaviruses, by the way. Most of us suffer from a mild cough and cold. It is mostly because of a different type of a coronavirus. This specific COVID-19 infection, which is caused by the SARS-CoV-2 virus or the SARS coronavirus 2, this is the one which is for which we are having the vaccine created. Doesn't mean that there are other viruses which are not there, right? So we have to understand this. Yes, the coronaviruses are going to be there. Even the COVID-19 might also be, the SARS-CoV-2 virus will also be there. But most probably because we are getting vaccinated, the intensity of the disease or the severity of the disease might not be as high. All right. Um, I want to know about corona, if corona is artificial virus or a natural virus. Well, there have been a lot of speculations and talk about this, and I do not want to go there yet. I don't want to comment on this, but rather let us talk more on what we can do to not get it, rather than trying to find answers to where it came from in the first place. So I still go back and keep telling everybody, do the right thing, right? Follow precautionary measures. Take responsibility. Take responsibility for yourself and for your loved ones. Uh, Look into the future, be hopeful, make 2021 a year to count. Count your blessings that 2020 has passed, and you have been keeping good health till date. That doesn't mean that you take 2021 for granted. Create your new year resolutions around yourself. Build your health, right? Commit to your physical health, commit to your social health, commit to your mental health, commit to your financial and spiritual health. These are important. Unless you do this for yourself, in the coming year, the 2021, you will always have something that is lacking, right? So let us make this year count. Let us take 2020 as a learning experience for all of us, and go into a 2021 where we are more hopeful and more responsible for ourselves, at an individual level, at our family level, at our community, and at our national level, and even at for the whole world, right? It's important that we get committed to ourselves. So start with small steps. Do what is in your control. Ensure that you take care of your health. Ensure that you follow the precautionary measures. Do not lax away, even if you know that vaccine is going to come, or if I've already had an infection or not had an infection. Doesn't matter. It doesn't take too much for us to follow what is right, isn't it? So let's do that every single day. Take care of ourselves and hope that everything around us is as happy and as healthy as we would always want to be. Okay. So if you have any more questions, do bring them on. I'm always here to answer all your questions. Till that time, take this year as a year of learning, and get into 2021 with more hope, more commitment to yourself, staying healthy always, right? So take care, stay safe, stay healthy, and a very, very happy new year to all of you. Thank you for your time.